about to head out for day 2 of 90s Con. Here's my fit. Again, we have the Timberlands, the mom, I think these are called mom jeans, high-waisted jeans from the 90s, and the classic red and black plaid shirt. And as I showed you yesterday, the Tommy Hilfiger bag. So let's go catch our lift. After I got in, I headed straight for Elizabeth Berkley's table so I could go and get her autograph. And here's her table. Now, when they first opened the doors, none of the celebrities were actually at their tables, so I just took some B-roll shots of the empty tables. But eventually, Mark Paul Gosselaar and MarioLopez both arrived. Then Elizabeth Berkley finally arrived, and I got this clip of her talking to Mark Paul Gosselaar. A little while after that, it was time for me to get in line to meet Kel Mitchell for my photo op. Now, I couldn't have my phone out during the actual photo op, so you'll just hear the audio.
What's up? Hey, what up? Hey, you too.
Oh, can we do the peppy sign?
Yeah.
Got it. Awesome, right out.
You're welcome.
Next, please. Hey.
And then later on, I posted the photo op, and Kel actually reposted my story onto his story, so that was pretty cool as well. Also, I forgot to include this in the last vlog, but during his Q&A panel the day before, I got to ask him a question, and he answered it, and here's the clip of that. Hey, huge fan. What's your favorite memory from working on either Kenan and Kel or All That or Good Burger?
Whoa, that's pretty cool. Kenan and Kel. Okay, well, Kenan and Kel. Yeah, I haven't talked to anybody about this one, because I think when we found like the moment on Kenan and Kel when we knew it was going to be a big one was in the pilot episode, the first one where it was like the first episode where Kenan, we took a car, like we got trouble for a car. It was his first car, y'all remember that? Yeah. But then we were imagining what it would be like to drive a car, because we never driven a car. And so we had a whole like exchange on the couch about how we're gonna drive the car, and we were dancing and singing and all that stuff. Like that whole thing was improv. The whole thing. And that's when we kind of noticed, like, oh, this is gonna be crazy. So that was like a big moment for me. I saw it recently, and I saw how young we were, just little babies, just doing that, and I was just like, that's so beautiful. And so that's a great moment for me on Kenan and Kel. And then all the musical artists, because you know, I love music. So to see Usher for the first time, you know, his first album, he's just promoting it. He, you know, slides down a fire escape and does a twist and then like does a split. And I'm like, man, that kid gonna be amazing. And as you can see, he's amazing. Seeing Beyonce for the first time in Destiny's Child, and they were up there getting down. Aaliyah, all these different people, you know what I mean? And Nickelodeon, they gotta work on, because it's a whole thing licensing wise, but because I know y'all like, where the musical guests at, right? Yeah. Musical guests at, it's the whole thing that went down corporate wise. But they working on it to get the musical guests back, because it was so, I mean, everybody when they first got started were on all that, so that's dope. Yeah.
Y'all, I hope you can hear me. I'm in line for the TGIF panel, and there are so many people here.
Did you blow up a mailbox again? Like, it's so bad. It's so bad. And it was the worst day of filming we ever had to do.
But we were also laughing the entire day because it was just so terrible. Yeah. My favorite is they would always try to make it seem like we were all friends, which we were, but like your friends hanging out all the time, and so you'd be sitting there and we'd all be standing around not knowing what to do, and the director would be like, go! And then it's like, hey, we're having fun!
Have fun!
So it was always very fun to throw us all together with NSYNC. I remember that night with NSYNC, because they just kept having to sing the same song over and over again. So I remember, I think it was Joey getting on stage and saying, hey everybody, sorry, and then starting to sing their song again. It was great. That was a fun night. Mine was half a mile down the road at the Hartford stage.
Really?
And I'm a Connecticut boy, so I was born in Hartford Hospital.
My dad is from Hartford, Connecticut.
Yeah, and so the Hartford stage, 1986, I did a Doll's House with David Strathairn and
Oh, we're not talking Annie here. We're talking like legit theater.
Yeah, so that was my first professional job. I was 10 years old.
Oh my God,
right,
that's amazing.
right there.
Wow,
Yep.
that's amazing.
Yep.
Ryder, what about you?
I was Gavroche in Les Mis when I was 10 in San Francisco.
Yes, a little Broadway accent. Les Mis is my favorite musical of all
It's
time.
still the best. I've seen it.
The best.
I mean, I was in 178 performances or whatever. I still see it whenever I can. It's like I
never
cry
seen it.
every time. Just like, I mean, at this point, it's like hard to separate all the personal memories and like it's kind of like a religious experience for me. I just sit there and like.
Fontaine loses her job. I start falling. Do not stop.
Danielle and I have still never seen it.
How dare you?
My children with Anne Margaret, and then did Missing Children with Mayor Winningham. I had a lot of films that were very much about children.
I was a Toys R Us kid.
That's a great one.
I don't want to grow up. I'm a Toys R Us kid. They got a million Toys R Us that I can from bikes to trains to video games. There's a million toy store there is. Gee whiz, I don't want to grow up. The baby, if I did, I would be a Toys R Us kid. More game, more toys. Oh boy!
You're welcome.
Oh, that's a
I love you even more.
Oh my gosh.
Did you get to keep any of the toys that you were playing with?
No.
Oh!
Yeah, no, I was only supposed to be there for a one-shot deal. I came in on episode 12 and stayed for 215.
There you go. Well, since you did bring it up, it was going to be the next thing that I wanted to talk to you about. But I'm sure that everyone out here knows that in November, Jaleel released his book, Growing Up Urkel, I believe is the name.
I do the audio version myself. I think that's what I'm most proud of because I went in the booth and did it myself. So people are busy. Let me read it to you.
You got to drive places.
But really, it was like the number one thing anybody says to me in the streets is, when they see me out, step off an elevator or whatnot, and you're my entire childhood. You're my entire childhood. And I've heard it so much that people say, well, how does that make you feel? And the reality of it was, I'm like, well, you're my childhood too, but in a very different way. I think that we might have had very similar childhoods because I went to public school the entire time I did that show. And
Really?
we didn't have these camera phones back then, and my mom was really, really passionate about me staying in public school. So I would we would shoot 3 episodes, and I'd go back on hiatus, and we were on a schedule of 3 school, 2 school, 3 school. So I was constantly popping back in, and then in the spring, I was there the entire time. That's when reruns used to exist. I was there for the entire time, and then I even played on my high school basketball team. They changed the entire shooting schedule so I could play on my high school basketball team.
I love that. I love that.
I talk about it in my book. I didn't really want to play the character. I thought the character was boring. I was, just like anybody else going through adolescence, I was very insecure. And when I hit that audience and heard that scream, I just felt like the character just kept over-complimenting Carl and telling him that he lost weight when he hadn't. And I was looking more for the nuances, and I wasn't looking at it optically, that people were just like so amazed that I was normal. And for me, I'm like, but that's acting. I was like, I was being somebody else. So since this was so much closer to me, I didn't necessarily see it as this big acting exercise. So I'm like, it kind of came natural. What was tough was when I would be in scenes though by myself. There were scenes that we'd shoot that would just be with Steve and Stefan, and then I'd have to shoot it one way as one character, and then go change, and then have Scripty read my lines and just kind of fill in the gaps. We didn't have all that technology that we have now, so I really had to just kind of like time my lines. It was a weird exercise, just acting opposite yourself. From a moment.
What's your most memorable moment you're most grateful for?
I would say every moment that I got to spend both with the incredible cast.
Food fights.
Those were great, weren't they?
When I first did the show, first season of the show, we did an episode called Baker's Dozen, and I remember they had this big food fight with pies, and I wasn't in the scene the way it was originally written, and I went and I begged our executive producer, I was like, I'm 13. I'm just like, can I please get anything? I'll do anything. He was like, you do anything? He's all right. And so they used to send a driver to your house with the script at night with the rewrite. And the driver brought the script, and I opened the script, and my jaw just dropped on the floor. And Steve Urkel shows up at the end of the food fight, and the entire Winslow family just pelts him with pie. And I'm like, that's not how I want it to be in a food fight.
That's not exactly what I meant.
And I have a feeling those pies at that time came extra hard, to be quite honest. And I just got pummeled, and I took it. And I remember that was the first week that I ended up as the promo that they ran throughout ABC all the week.
Great.
Was just me walking into the door and getting hit by pies. Years later, we had another pie fight. Now things have changed on the show. And it was such an epic food fight that right before we started filming, I started noticing all of our writing staff was just dressed horribly. And they were all very well-paid, stylish people for the most part. And I was like, wait, I mean, right before we filmed, I'm like, Gary Mintier looks like crap today. And David's wearing the worst shoes I've ever seen in his life. And all of a sudden I realized they were ready for us. So they had hidden pies in Video Village.
That's great.
And they couldn't even yell cut before the writers and producers and actors in the cast just went at it right in front of the audience.
God, that's amazing.
Everything. They even
Payback.
pulled slickers over the cameras because they knew it was going to go down, so that the pies and stuff didn't get into the cameras.
I just got out of the TGIF panel. It was really, really cool. They answered like a bunch of questions, and at the very end, they took a selfie like with the crowd in the background. So I like ran in the front because like the front middle section was supposed to be like VIPs only. So, but like who cares? So like because it was over with, so like I ran and like jumped in the front. I was trying to like get my camera to flip, but I couldn't do it fast enough. So. But all in all, it's been a pretty fun weekend. It's kind of dwindling down a little bit in here. It's the end of the day. I'll probably stay for like another like 30 or 40 minutes and then call my Lyft and head back to the hotel. There's also an after party here. I'm not gonna go to that because it's a band that like I've heard the name, but I don't I could name like any of their songs. It's a band called Wilson Phillips, and there's also gonna be a DJ there. But like I said, I'm not gonna head to that. And then my flight is at 9 o'clock in the morning, so that's it at this time. I just made it back to my room. So that is it for 90s Con. Today is still Saturday, but they still have one more day, which is tomorrow on Sunday. So I'm just gonna give like an overall recap of my day. So starting out, when I first got there, like they had us, and I don't remember if I said this before, but like basically they have like tape on the floor. As you can see right here. And they were trying to make the line like kind of snake around, which, you know, okay, that kind of makes sense. But then so yesterday, like once they opened up the doors though, like they let the VIPs go in first, of course. But then when it was time for like the general admission, and I think after that it was like the ADA, like, you know, people with disabilities or people that need more time to get in, they went second. And then after that it was general admission. So when they opened the doors for the general admission, like, everybody just kind of like bum rushed and like went inside. So a lot of us were just like, what was the point of having us like stand in these lines and like have us snake around if we were just gonna bum rush anyways? Like, what did it matter? So that was the same thing that happened today. Like they just opened the doors and then we just all like move forward. But like once everybody was like inside and like the initial like first few minutes, you know, kind of passed, like it was just normal. Like it wasn't too chaotic. But like as we were standing in line, there were some little kids that were just like, I mean, they were being little kids. They were maybe like no more than 5 years old, like 3 or 4 of them. And they were just like, they were bumping into like the guy that was like standing a little bit in front of me. Like they bumped him like 4 or 5 times. So I could tell that he was like annoyed, and like he kept looking at the parents to see like if they were going to do anything. And like every now and then the dad would be like, they'd be like, Matilda, I told you to stop. And then like that would be it. And then like, so like some more time passed, like right before they opened the doors, all I hear is, ma'am, like from a little kid. And like I didn't know that they were talking to me, so I just like ignored them. And then like they started like poking me, and so I looked down and he was like, ma'am, you are standing on the tape and you're supposed to be standing behind the tape. Like, I just like looked at him like, and then he kept saying, ma'am, you are on the tape. Ma'am, you're on the tape. And then eventually I just went like, and he like stopped talking to me. They didn't say anything else to me. But then after that, I immediately got in line for Elizabeth Berkley's autograph, because yesterday I didn't get to because it just got too late and I was just ready to get back to the hotel before I got too late. So I'm standing in line and like I don't know why, but like she was like late for I know like they said the day before they were just late with their like the cars to go get the celebrities. Were just like late to go and pick them up. So I don't know if that had anything to do with anything. But when she finally got there, I was like first in line. The way that her table was, like a lot of times the tables are like really small and you'll have like the celebrity and then like their handler, manager, whoever like next to them. And that's the person that you hand the cash and everything to. And then you tell the person like, hey, I want to do an autograph. I want her to make it out to me and say such and such. So I talked to her handler and I was like, hey, like I want to get an autograph of hers. And this is the sentence that I want. I had it written on my phone. And she's like, oh, okay, yeah, that's fine. And so she like wrote down my name so she would know how to spell it. And then I was like, do I just grab a picture, like any of her pictures here? And she's like, yeah. So by the time that it was time for me to like meet Elizabeth Berkley, who played Jessie Spano, and she was also known as Nomi Malone in Showgirls, which is one of my favorite movies. And I told her that. By the time that I was with Elizabeth, like the handler person she was like speaking with the next person that was right behind me. So basically I was just saying like I was a huge fan of hers. The quote that I had her write was basically a blend of her famous quote from Saved by the Bell, which is I'm so excited, that episode where she was addicted to caffeine pills, and then different places, which is a famous line that it's a reference to a famous line that she said in the Showgirls movie. So, and I explained to her that I went like a really long time without being able to travel, and I was just working and stuff, and I just never took the time to myself to, go anywhere. So yeah, so we were just like, chopping it up about that. And then like at the end, like as I was like trying to talk to her and like ask her like, oh, do you have any like trivia or like behind the scenes, things that people wouldn't, know or guess from Saved by the Bell or Showgirls? And she was like, yeah, there's so many. But she was like, hang on. Because like I was like distracting her because like she was trying to get my quote right. And then at the end, she was like, so are you also doing a selfie? And like, I'm just so honest. I said no. But in that moment, I didn't realize that she was distracted. So I could have just said yes and I could have gotten a free photo with her. When I realized what I did, that like broke my little heart. But it's fine. Like if that's the worst thing that happened this weekend, that's not that big of a deal. There's gonna be plenty more like fan conventions that I'm planning. I'm already like mentally planning my next one, and I don't even know what that one's gonna be. But I have this really cool All That poster that I really want to get Kel to sign. I just wasn't able to bring it this time because it's kind of like not in the best condition. So I want to either have it laminated or framed or something like that, and then have him sign that, so it's not I'm not traveling with it like in a bad condition. But all in all, it was a great weekend. And then the only thing that happened today was because I just like walked around a lot, and the only other like thing about the convention is I just wish that they had more panels, because the panels that I went to at the previous convention that I went to, which was the Fanboy Con in Orlando, it was like always, it just felt like it was more to do. It's nobody's fault. It's just, I just wish that it could have been more panels. Tomorrow there's going to be a Saved by the Bell panel, but again, I'm leaving like tomorrow, so I'm not going to have time to go see that, which is sad. But all in all, it was a great weekend. Hope you guys enjoyed this vlog. It was definitely all over the place like most vlogs are. But yeah, if you like this kind of content, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Bye.